Going to be Rebecca Walser. She's president of Walser Wealth Management. Welcome to the show, Rebecca. Now, typically when I've interviewed you before, we're talking taxes, but I kind of wanted to get your take on the overall markets right now. We're seeing additional volatility. It's coming down pretty hard today with the markets at or near the session highs. But what's your outlook for the overall equity market here?
Yeah, Tom, thanks for having me back. I think that we are going to see a little bit of volatility. I think people are a little bit having sticker shock from everything that happened last week. And I know that we've gotten a little bit more control as far as access to trading through today. But I do think that retail investors are going to, take a step back and say, what's going on here? And obviously, we've seen it shift today to silver. So, that's not completely over, Tom. And I do expect that people are going to ask some longer term questions regarding what happened last week. But we are looking past that, more specifically for this administration's regulations to see really what sector besides energy is going to be really greatly impacted and certainly beyond just the tax equation. And so I'm expecting overall, Tom, some volatility for a little bit of time, but I do see 2021 overall as a great year for pent-up demand to be exercised, and let's get some entertainment, some luxury, and some travel back in the mix of sector growth this year.
Yeah, I think everybody's pounding the table on getting us back out there and enjoying some experiences moving forward. But if you look at the valuation side of this market, Rebecca, a lot of people are saying on a historical basis, it's a little bit overbought, a little bit frothy here. But with earnings coming out right now, and it's been pretty solid. We're getting beats on EPS and revenue for over 75% of most of the S&P 500 companies. Do you feel that we are not going to get that 5 to 10% dip that maybe helps a bull market that we've seen, or that you think that investors are just going to continue to buy any little dip that we see?
I want to be clear, Tom. I do think we're going to have a little bit of a pullback first as we start to really understand what this administration's policies are and where the regulation is going to come besides outside of the energy sector. So I do actually think we are due for a little bit of a pullback. I do see what they're talking about on the PE side and the price earnings that we're it's pretty high, it's pretty elevated and historically speaking. But I do think we will see a little bit of a pullback. I do expect some volatility, but then after that, I do see us settling, and I do see us having a really good 2021. So it's so hard to time the volatility because so many factors go into it. But I would say overall, I don't see us shooting straight up from here through to the end of the year without any pullbacks. I do think we're going to be overdue for a little bit of a pullback, whether that's related to what happened last week and there's some more investigations around that, or it's just investors themselves pulling back and being a little bit leery of some of the things that might come out of this administration. I do see a little bit of a pullback first, but then overall 2021 is going to be positive. I always hate coming on shows and saying we're going to have some volatility because people freak out and then they're like, oh, should I not invest? That's not what I'm saying. This is the way the market is. You know that, Tom. It goes up, it ebbs and flows, and we have to deal with it.
Stay in the markets is the old mantra there. But just one quick take on what type of regulation are you focused on mostly out of this administration that could possibly or potentially, maybe cause a headwind for the equity markets?
Well, we're not seeing, I don't see any regulation coming out for big tech from this administration, that's for sure. And obviously, we've already started to see the energy sector and where they're sort of, not really for American energy independence like the Trump administration was. So there's a lot of things. Exporting, outsourcing, labor regulation, all of these things that I think could affect across all sectors, So I can't pinpoint exactly what yet. I know that the first sort of sector that was really impacted and still yet to be is obviously energy and America's independence on that. But really the rest of it could be very widespread and cover multiple sectors at once. And labor regulations, $15 minimum wages, more reporting, National Labor Relations Board changes, all of these things that have an impact across sectors, Tom.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if those expectations going into the end of 2021 can offset probably some more regulation coming down the pipeline. All right, Rebecca Walser, president of Walser Wealth Management, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.